Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. You've landed at Aquascaping on the Fly, Living Art Creations. I'm Anthony, your host and your content creator. And here on my channel, I embrace my love of spirituality and Mother Nature into every one of my builds, whether it's the terrarium side or the aquarium side. My hope for you that if you found this video, it's with intent and it's not by accident. Hopefully I'll say something in the video that'll mean relevance to you. And my goal is to make this hobby as accessible to everyone out there that wants to engage in it. I get a lot of comments because I do a lot of DIY on my channel. I'm not that channel that just throws a lot of livestock, plants, expensive tanks, expensive electronics into it. I do planted tanks. I do a little 5-watt pump in a lot of my smaller tanks just to recirculate water. So I'm doing as natural of a tank as possible. And I do all my hardscaping. So that's my hardscaping, my rocks, some of my gravel I forage from Mother Nature herself. And what gets me my inspiration is when I start, usually every one of my builds starts with me on a nature walk itself. And I find something in nature that calls to me, and I usually get an immediate impression or idea on what I'm supposed to do with that particular piece of hardscape. Whether it's the first piece in a 3-set, which is my Trinity tank series, that's 3 tanks with 1 theme, or once I found a dead shrub in a drainage ditch, and it turned into my Tree of Life, which is a 20-gallon long tank. What you're looking at right here is something I just finished. I just put the last video out, produced it and edited and put it out. This is going to be the Rainbow series featuring a rhombus. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, if you picture a triangle with the points coming down and then it immediately meets a triangle with the point up, at the intersection of where those 2 points come together just slightly, it creates a diamond effect between the 2 triangles. That's called a rhombus. So I'm doing a rainbow series, which normally would be 6 tanks, but I'm going to do 5. So I'm going to do 2, 1, and 2, and they're going to be in an X pattern, which is like the 2 triangles, opposing triangles. This middle one here is going to be my rhombus, and it'll be 2 colors. This one's going to be green and yellow coming together. So it's going to be red, green, yellow, orange. I am mixing up the colors because as artists, we can do that. And then over here, it's going to be blue, yellow, green again, and up there it's going to be violet. And it's primarily because I think red and violet will be gorgeous together, and the same thing here, I think blue and orange on the same shelf will be absolutely gorgeous. Now, I've had this idea, and when I get an idea, it's usually a download from the divine. I'm just very open about my spirituality here. I hope I don't offend anyone. It doesn't bother me if you are. I'm speaking my truth, and I walk and talk in the light, which is my job. My job is to get out the message. And aquascaping provides me that outlet to talk to the masses out there that may be thinking of something like this. But when I get inspiration, it usually comes in the form of an image, or I see something in nature and then I know what I'm supposed to do with it. In the Rainbow series, it was very different. It came on, I've been contemplating this for about 4 months. And I've been trying to decide how, in my tiny little studio here, how can I display 5 or 6 tanks and please the artist inside me, as well as getting my message across about, hey, this is a DIY channel and we focus on builds that are definitely under $200. That's one difference between my channel and a lot of channels where maybe they have sponsors, which is amazing, more power to you. But the regular people like us, in the economy we're in right now, can't go out and spend $800, $1,200, $2,000 for a setup. So we need to do as much of this on our own. And so that's why I do a lot of my own foraging, and then I get my tanks on sale. And I get my tanks right now only from PetSmart because they're absolutely the least expensive tanks out there when you find them on their website at 50% off. And then sometimes there's a 20% off coupon on top of that. That's what I'm waiting on to get my 5 tanks you're going to need for here, because I'm going to do 5.5 gallon tanks for the Rainbow series. But when the Rainbow series first entered my mind, the hard part was about how to display 5 tanks in such a small space. I have gone the gamut of trying to place it everywhere in here. I have bought something on Amazon that I thought was going to work that I returned immediately because it was not what the advertiser had described about the quality and the weight that it would hold. That was one thing. Then I have another thing in my cart, and that was, I think, $260, $270 to put 5 tanks on it. Because when you talk about it, even though I'm only doing 5.5 gallon tanks, I want the ability to put bigger tanks here if I want to switch this up. Like if I find something later on that would work better, where I could keep the tanks more, once I get done with the rhombus thing, if I want to just kind of like stack them next to each other or whatever, and if I find something that works better for the space, and then I can move on to this for other builds, because once we get one build, we just want another one and another one and another one. I mean, that's how the hobby goes. So I ended up, because of the weight, I know where all my 2x4s are in here, and I've got 5 in 2x6s that run in the back of this build right here. I put the leg support because there's a 12-inch span right here on every shelf where there's not attached to a 2x4 into the wall. I wanted to do floating shelves, but I ended up putting legs on the whole thing, and I think it turned out great. This cost me $205, and it's a custom build. Now, I had thought about putting lighting, recessed lighting up in the bottoms of the shelves here, but I still would have had to add lighting to the top one, and I'm going for a cohesive look. So I decided not to do that because in case I ever want to switch it up, maybe I don't want those lights where they are for this setup, but I would want to change it for another one. Well, once they're recessed, you can't because you've got holes and then you'll ruin the look of it. So I'm just going to go with the standalone light fixtures like you see on this tank right here. This is Blackfish. And that way they'll be behind it, they'll be minimal. It's not something that's really going to stand out. But the nice thing about this is I built all this myself with just a circulating saw and a bucket, a 5-gallon bucket that I use to hold things on. Everything else has been reused. Like everything you physically see, has all been reused from other projects. So that's how I kept my costs down really, really low. But I want to show you something like this because you could build something like this. Now, I own this unit, so I'm not a renter. So if you're renting, you could not put something like this up without having to take it down once you want to move out. So this, for me, is permanent. If I sell this place, I'm sure someone's going to love it because I made it match with the existing flooring and the components from my kitchen remodel. So it's a blending of both. So this would work for me. If it doesn't work for you, then there are some inexpensive stands out there. You just got to really search the internet, and you have to make sure you get the right weight for what you're wanting to put on it. And then you can always go back with either something like that or build something yourself that's freestanding that had legs maybe on the backside as well. You can still do something out of 2x4s. So my point, though, is that there's a lot of people that are in the hobby that want to engage in the hobby, but are hesitant because of the amount of money that it costs to get into it. So I'm your solution for that because I do everything on a tight budget and a DIY. And also there's an added benefit that a lot of people kind of really don't talk about in the hobby is, especially in the political climate that we have right now in the United States, it's nice to be able to come home and get away from all that chaos. And I can't think of anything more therapeutic than being able to watch life unfold that you help put together, whether it's in a tank or a terrarium. I get just as much excitement from my fireplace terrarium that as I do as an aquarium, because my plants in that build, they change every single day, and I watch them change. I watch them try to outmaneuver each other for sunlight. which is just, to me, fascinating. And I like to experiment on the terrarium side with doing things that are open concept, but plants that are still terrarium plants. So I love doing that. And I do the same thing with my aquariums. I like to sometimes grow my own plants out or buy plants in advance and see if I can get them to get bigger than the size I'm buying because it's going to go into a build, or go ahead and attach it to some driftwood that I found because I have an idea in my head that's going to play out maybe, months later. So my goal is to be your resource to show that this hobby can have a spiritual connection. It's always also, for me, it's profoundly connected to Mother Nature. There's never a time that I'm not out in a park or one of my trails that I walk on that I don't find something that is meaningful to me that I know I can use either in a terrarium or an aquascape. And I think I only get that connection because I'm out there and I'm focused on walking very slowly, because you can't walk fast and look for things to use in both of the hobbies. And that includes some plants as well. And it forces you to take a different approach. You're not looking at your mobile device. You're focusing on nature. You get to hear the birds. You get to feel the sun on you. It has such a element of uplifting your soul that a lot of people do not even talk about in this hobby. So on my channel, feel free because I talk about it a lot. So in this intro video I'm just introducing the Rainbow series. Now, the Rainbow series, when it came to me, I didn't even know what a rhombus was. So when I say I get a download, that's usually something from the divine. And I had to look up what rhombus was. And when I realized what it was and I looked up its technical definition, it's very spiritually related to balance. So one thing I love about it is just what I was saying. You can come home, look at your tanks, feel centered, feel zen, feel relaxed, feel calm, inspired. That's what I hope to promote through my channel. So for those of you who are here watching, thank you for being here. If you feel compelled, please like, chat, comment, and subscribe. Right now I'm at 222. My channel is 6 months old. I want to be a big channel one day, so you guys can get me there. I know you can. I have faith. So without further ado, what you'll see next is a series of 4 separate videos that I'm putting all together in one package, which is the entire build out of this little structure right here. So I hope you guys enjoy. Until the next time, I'll see you on the next video. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hi, everyone. You've landed at Aquascaping on the Fly, Living Art Creations. I'm your host and content creator, Anthony, and welcome 214 subscribers. Yes, we are growing, which I am loving that. So apparently people just like the idea of just letting me talk endlessly about aquascaping and terrariums, which I love that. It's my passion. So today I've got something special. I was not going to initially do a video about this because when I'm in the zone building, I usually have on my dance music really loud and I'm dancing around while I'm building. It's just not conducive to put a camera there, because then I'd be conscious that there's a camera there and wouldn't do things that I like to do, which is like just bust out a dance. So that being said, there is no music on right now. And what you see behind me is something completely new that I am working on. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you for joining us. But for those of you who have watched the videos, you know that I've been speaking relatively consistency. Okay, I'm going to start over. Hi guys, you've landed at Aquascaping on the Fly, Living Art Creations. I'm Anthony, your host and your content creator. Here on my channel, it's all about my spiritual journey. Oh my God, I cannot speak today. All right, let's go try this again. Hi everyone, welcome to Aquascaping on the Fly, Living Art Creations. I'm Anthony, your host and content creator. This is like the 10th time I've started this video intro, and I just keep messing up, but I'm just gonna let it roll on this one. Here at this channel, if you're new, it's all about how I weave my spirituality, my love of Mother Nature into a hobby that is challenging, rewarding, and is just for me a sheer joy. And I like to spread that joy through my videos on how I'm documenting my journey. Now, my channel is only 6 months old, and congratulations if you're here and you're new. Please consider liking, subscribing, commenting. I love the comments. And right now we're at 214. So we're doing a steady growth, which I love. So apparently you guys just like it when you just let me just ramble on for, an hour and a half or whatever, because some of my videos are really long. So today, I'm not sure if any of you have been catching the little theme I've been throwing out every once in a while about the rainbow series. I've been talking about it because it's been on my mind for probably 3 months or more. Now, remember, my channel just hit 6 months old, but I had this idea in my head where I wanted to do a series of tanks based on the rainbow colors. But more specifically, what I envisioned originally were using the bowl tanks, like the 3-gallon bowls. And I thought, oh my God, they'd be so gorgeous because it'll represent the earth. It'll represent Mother Earth. And each one will be a color of the rainbow. And I wanted to do them on the back wall here, but I wanted to do one here, one here, one here, one here, and like stagger them. Or my original idea, I just wanted to do them in a big circle. Well, that's not possible. We just can't do that without massive construction going on to put the supports in. Because of course I don't want to see legs. I want to see my tank in its artistic form just floating there like on a cloud, like it should be, like in space, like we're floating around on Earth. No, that didn't work. So the artist side of me has been struggling with how to get this build done. And I finally decided I was not going to do the bowls, even though that's one of the most expensive ways to go, because I was going to get the bowls from Walmart. They're like $13. So that fits in with the channel's objective. We do everything here on a DIY, very inexpensively. We don't like to spend any money we don't have to. And I ultimately said no to the bowls because when I started doing research on fish and shrimp, it's not recommended you do anything less than 5 gallons. Now I know you're going to see, I'm going to get pushback from people out there that have channels that you see a photo with a bowl and it's crammed full of livestock. Okay. That's too crowded. That's like living in the middle of New York City and not having any space for yourself. So when you do research, you're looking for how many shrimp can you put per gallon and what's the minimum size so they don't be stressed all the time. Don't be stressed all the time. Aren't going to be stressed all the time, if I could get my words together today. So I decided to go with the recommendations, which is a 5-gallon minimum tank size. All right. So you guys know that I am a thrifter. I have a lot of thrifting videos on my channel, but I also am a massive bargain hunter. I don't like to pay full price for anything unless I am forced, and I mean forced. So I've been getting all my tanks from PetSmart when they have their open stock 50% off. And then I usually wait for that coupon that they usually do, if I can catch it right, when it's an extra 20% off. So they, of course, have a 5.5 gallon long tank, which for that one, that means it's 17 inches long. And I think it's like 9-ish or 10 deep by right at 11 tall. Okay, so remember that, okay? So they are on sale right now for 50% off, but that 20% off coupon doesn't apply yet. So I'm still holding out. Now, I didn't want to have to build something because for those of you who aren't familiar, this location here, this is where Blackfish, the tank was. And it has its own table that I got in the trash, that I retrofitted, and now it's a tank stand. I mean, how awesome is that? It didn't cost me a thing. So it's been moved to the other side of the studio because I could not fit the Rainbow series, which is going to be 5 tanks. I'm not going with 6, and I'll explain why. I'm going to go with 5 tanks, but I needed 3 shelves. So I did find one thing on Amazon that was under $200 because I didn't really want to spend more than $200. And I really didn't want to spend more than $50, to be honest. But I found one, and it said heavy duty. Each shelf would hold 150 pounds. Okay, that's pretty cool because the tanks are like 50 each. So I thought, okay, that's 100 pounds, two tanks on the shelf. That's going to be perfect. It arrived. When I picked the package out from outside, I knew there was something wrong immediately. I easily picked it up. Oh my God. That's not even a word. Okay, I picked up the box, and it was too light. And I knew we had some bullshit going on. I hope I don't get zapped for that because I'm cursing. So I did unpack it. The shelving that they say is heavy duty, I'm not lying here. It was pressed tin with a little thin piece of tin underneath that as a beam. Oh my God, there was no underlayment backing. There was no MDF board or anything that went with it to give it any solid foundation. So when you had the shelf, it literally warped. You could bend it and it would pop. I was so disappointed, and I was really pissed because I went back to the original ad and I saw where it said 150 pounds, easy, heavy duty, blah, 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 blah. So I went out and gave them 1 star, and I wrote everything in there. I was like, no, don't be doing this to people. So I just got that returned. And so I debated to abandon the project because I did not want to spend more than $200 to get a stand. And the only thing I could find was a $270 stand that is an aquarium stand that literally you're supposed to put one long mega tank on the top, and then you could put nano tanks on the bottom. But I needed space between the bottom, the top shelf and the second shelf, so I could get in and work on. I mean, you see lots of aquarium stands out there that you can see online that they'll have. The top one will be fine, but the shelf below is so narrow. If you put tanks under there, you don't have any way to get in and do any work with them. You have to like pull them out. So I didn't want something like that. So this one had a little more space, but I thought it was just way too expensive. It's bigger than my space allowed. It was 65 inches wide, and where I wanted to put it, which is next to the other tanks on the other wall, on the main studio wall, and it would have stuck out into the hallway area. And I was like, oh God, I just can't handle that. So I kind of meditated about it. And when I say I meditated about it, I do meditation prayer together. And I was talking with one of my archangels, which covers like creativity. And I was like, I need to come up with some idea. It wasn't an hour later that I had a brain fart image hit my head that said, go back to your original idea, which I did. That is my original idea. My original idea was to put 3 shelves here and to make them almost look like they're floating, and just to build them myself. So I was holding out on that because I was going to have to move Blackfish, which meant moving it all the way across the room. It's full of water, and I just knew I was going to spill something. So I'm pulling the stand, which has felt under it, thank goodness. And I got to the last section, and I did spill water. And water went everywhere. But it's sitting in its new location, which is okay because it's right next to the other tanks. It's just a little bit lower. And then this freed up this whole side right here. Oh my God, I almost spilled my drink. Oh, yes, we're having iced tea today. Oh my gosh, that's good. So I wanted to have you guys see this before I got too far into it. I want you to see how actually we're doing it. Now, just the materials that I needed for just like the wood and of course I had to do really high end because I'm using 4-inch decking screws to go into the studs. Fortunately, the studio I am in, the 2x4s are not 2x4s. They're the bigger ones, the 2x6s. And I wanted the screws to go all the way into the studs. I've already consulted with Chat GPT about weight for each shelf. And I am completely covered just with putting one screw at every stud. It can hold like some ungodly amount, like 100 and 100 pounds per screw. So I've doubled them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I've got 10. And I'm going to explain how I did this and why I chose this. And when to give you the information, if you're going to be forced like I was forced, because we can't find always what we need to do our display, this is what you're going to be faced with. So the whole issue is, some of you may not be familiar with the term. It's called rhombus. I think I'm pronouncing that right. So when I started with the rainbow theory, I was going to do the 6, and I really did. I wanted them in a circle like Earth, and round. Thought it would be gorgeous, and maybe put one in the middle, and then you could just rotate the colors out. Awesome, awesome. It's going to be beautiful. So then when I had to switch it up and change it, and I went to the 5.5 gallons, I thought, okay, well, I don't want to do just a 5.5 gallon. And I kept having this image in, I'm just going to say, it's called your third eye. It's something you see in your brain, and it's a 3D effect. It's like looking at something live inside your brain, not like a dream, not like a photo, like it's right there live and you could touch it. It's like 3D. And I had this vision of, hey, I'm going to do an X. It's going to look like an X, but what it really is, you're doing a triangle coming down and then a triangle going up. Where the two triangles meet, it forms a diamond when they intersect, just their tops. And that's called the rhombus. So the rhombus for me is going to be one tank, and it's going to be the tank that's going to have 2 colors in it. So it's going to be yellow-green, which means I'll probably focus on really deep green plants and put yellow shrimp and maybe some yellow, if I can find anything that mimics the color yellow. So it's going to be yellow-green. So what I want to do is, if you can vision this, so the middle shelf here is going to have the one tank. This is going to be the yellow-green. Up here, that's going to be red, yellow, green, orange. I'm not going in order. I'm mixing it up. Artists can do that. Purple or violet, for us, violet. Coming down here to yellow again, and this will be blue. Because I thought blue and orange would be really pretty on the same shelf. And the same thing is red and violet. I thought, okay, that would be really pretty. So basically, I guess I'm going to have to stand up so you guys can get the full effect. And you know what? I need to raise you up. Okay, hold on. Hot second. Okay, so now that I'm standing up, I can point out what we're doing here. So if you can picture it, we'll have a tank here and here. They'll be centered, and then the center one, and then we'll branch off the 2 down here. I'm also going to, because we know how tiresome it is to have electrical cords everywhere, I have an outlet that's under the bottom shelf, which is as low as I could get it because there's an outlet. I wouldn't normally want my tanks this high up here, but at least they'll, okay, for me, at least they'll be eye level. I can just look right into it. But there's an outlet under there, and I'm going to put an outlet on each shelf so I can plug in my lighting. I was contemplating putting recessed lighting. I researched it. You can get the ones that simulate daylight full spectrum, but I could only do it here and here. It would have left this top shelf where I would have had to put just regular lighting. I'm not going to use the micro strips that I'm using on the other wall and everywhere else in here, just because this is where when I'm watching television, I'm parked out on the sofa or in my chair. So I don't want necessarily bright lighting on me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same lighting that I'm using on Blackfish, which is just a little full spectrum on a little stand, put it behind the tank, and it's just right there shining right on the tank. I think that's going to be the easiest way to do it. I had originally wanted 18 to 20 inch clearance, but because I had to put the bottom shelf where it is, it altered. So right now I'm at 16 inches and 3/4 from here to here. Now, I want to show you and how I made this easy. Okay, this is just me and my little spot here. I don't have a sawhorse. I don't have a saw table. I have a circular saw and I have a 5-gallon bucket. That 5-gallon bucket turns into where I do all the sawing at. Outside, I take it outside so I don't get it messy inside. But it's just me and me doing this just by myself. So if you're in a situation like I am, you can get around it. You can do it. It's just not going to be as easy. Like, it's really hard to get a level cut on these. Okay, so that's one thing I did. So I originally did not want the shelves to come out this wide, but I wanted to make as little cuts as possible with my circular saw. So these shelf boards are exactly 15 inches wide by 48 inches. So they're 4 feet long. Okay, so guess what? On 2x4s, you can buy these. 2x4 by 48 inches long. So no cut, no cut, no cut, no cut. You guys get the idea. The ones I had to cut are the middle braces. So the end pieces, I had to cut those. And it's hard to put these together when you don't have like a clamp down structure to where you can hold the 2x4 and you just screw right into it and get everything nice and level. No, it's kind of impossible. So it was really hard to get that. That was the biggest challenge, was the cutting and just installing the boards. Now the shelves I got way better. I started with the bottom one. Bottom one is a hot mess. This one's kind of okay, still a bit of a mess, but this one's amazing here. This one's great. And I'm going to tell you how I got these level by myself. The 5-gallon buckets down here that are on the ground, not only is that my sawhorse, but as soon as I got the first one, I put the buckets there and stacked 2x4s on top of the bucket until I got the shelf where it was level. And I did the same thing for every level. I just put the bucket on there, built up the 2x4s to the same distance, and that's how I did it. I mean, so literally with a circular saw and a level and a couple of 5-gallon buckets, this is how I built this. The screws that are going in all of them are 4-inch. So right here in the corner, and the reason why I went with the 15-inch instead of a 12-inch, most of your shelving comes out at 12-inch widths. I found one at Home Depot that was 15 that wasn't outrageous. These planks were $16 a piece. It's because I had a 2x4 right here. So it goes from here to here. Remember I told you my 2x4s aren't 2x4s, they're 2x6s. So it comes out further. So this comes out to the 15 inches right here. So I'm able to secure the corner by going straight to the corner and this one. This is not going anywhere. And then it goes, it's 6 at 12 inches. No, I'm sorry. 6 inches out, 18, 25, 36. I have 1 foot that does not have a structure to it. So this is how we're going to get around it. And every shelf is the same. Starting with the bottom shelf, I'm going to get an adjustable furniture leg. And I will put the leg from the concrete floor up to that shelf. Once that shelf is secure, you put the top on it, put a leg here, it'll do the same thing. Put your top on it, put your leg here, it'll do the same thing. It will basically make these shelves to where they can hold more than 800 pounds. So if I get tired of my little 5.5-gallon tanks, I can definitely put something. I wouldn't put something that big up here, no. But if I wanted to put like maybe a 20-gallon, yeah, I could do a 20-gallon up here. The only problem is my hardscapes are always coming so far out the build that I'm really going to have to watch it, because I really do like my tanks just at one level so I can put as much hardscape coming out of it as possible. I think it looks really cool and it's very dramatic. That's why Blackfish had to go on its own table. It comes up a full, I think it's 14 inches out of the water, out of the top line of the tank. so it wouldn't fit anywhere else in the studio because I don't have that much room for them. This will give me just enough room where the tanks can be here and I can access them through here. So what I'll be doing is I'll be putting like an outlet here, here, and here. And then once the outlets are put in, then I can secure the top plank, and I have finish nails for that and glue. So it's best to glue around the entire frame, put the board in, and then you can put your finish nails in. So the finish nails really just tack it into place. The glue is strong enough to where it will hold it permanently. Now, one of the things I'm going for is I'm going to clad this in my flooring that I have, that I'm using here in the studio. So it's a peel and stick vinyl, and I bought an extra glue so that I can put the glue on the 2x4s that's on the here and here, on top of the solid piece of wood here, and put them into place, put some weights on it, and then let that cure for like 2 days. And then it will give me a vinyl surface that's textured and very easy to slide the tanks around versus leaving them on wood. Even if you painted the wood will always get dented because it's not a hardwood. No wood is hard anymore because our trees they're made to grow too fast. So they don't have the density of older wood. So most wood now is softwood. Even if you get treated wood, it's still softwood. It's just been treated. So that's how I'm going to get around that. Now, I'm going to have to do an under backing for this one because you're going to be able to see it if you sit down. I'm not going to do it here because if someone's getting under there looking, I'm just going to slap them. Say, get out of there. You don't need to be looking under there. Get out of there. And then the bottom one, of course. Now, I'm hoping I have a little tank right here that's got my plants in it. A couple of those are that I put plants on just until I do the next build, which the builds are in my head that haven't been done yet. And a couple of them are for the Rainbow series. So I'm hoping to put that under there and finally get it off my countertop, because my countertop is where everything goes and it's in the way sitting there. But if I could put it under there, maybe put some other stuff under there, it'll give me a little storage area. I was trying to I have a bunch of stuff like this that goes with my kitchen from the remodel, and I didn't use it. But I don't have like a jigsaw to be able to do like a really fine little cut like that. Or I was trying to use it, but it just didn't work out. I'm just going to use what's on the flooring to clad this, and that way it'll go with the rest of the studio. And I still plan on, even with the small tanks, I still plan on putting hardscape that comes out of it. I'll just go as high as I can. And I'll still plan on doing some plants in there as well. So I hope this gives you a good indication of what it is you can do if you can't buy what you want, and if you're in a place that's yours to where you can build a structure like this. This took me 1 day to put this part together after I went shopping for all the materials. And let me tell you, I did something that I've never done. I went on to Home Depot's website. I bought lots of different products. I made sure I went to a Home Depot that had all the products available there, that I didn't have to go to another place. And then I wrote down the aisle and the bay that everything was on. Literally, I started at one row, went to the next one that was closer than, oh my God, it was the easiest thing I've ever done. I've never done that before. I usually just think, oh, I need to go to that area. I need to go to that area, and end up walking back and forth, back and forth. Oh no, this is so simple. It was so much easier. I didn't even know they had pre-cut 2x4x4s. I thought everything was going to be 8, and I was going to have to cut these in half myself. Thank goodness I didn't have to, because then that would have been a cut on the end that would not be a flat cut for me. And I know that that's a problem because I don't have like a table saw or something like that. I'll put the budget in the build. What is going to ratchet my price up is the fact that I'm adding electrical. The wiring alone and the pieces I had to get to do a remodel, which is existing sheetrock is already there and you got to work around it, was outrageous. I mean, it's still pre-COVID pricing when we have supply chain issues during COVID. I couldn't believe how expensive it was. It really made the price of my project here a lot more. But since this is a permanent structure, I thought, okay, then I can spend a little more than what my budget normally would be. I'm still hoping I can keep it around $200 because I was hoping for like $100 because these materials, that wasn't bad at all. But by the time you add on 20-something dollars, actually I paid $40 in just screws to put this together because I needed enough to make it heavy. So all that kind of stuff adds up. But I'll put all that in the description so you can see what the true cost is, and that way you can outweigh building something versus getting something ready-made. So hope this helps. Thanks for hanging out with me. And for you, it'll be a hot second, but for me, it'll be a while before we get to the next stage. But I will show you, I'll do a little blurb when I get the electric done, and I'll show you how I can tie each one of these in with an electrical fishing line that makes it easy to find your wiring inside the wall to where you can go from one outlet and just bring it on up. And since we're talking construction here that we're going to make the holes in the sheetrock, we can feed the fishing line down to pull the wiring up so you don't have to worry about having additional holes. Now, it is a big mess when you cut into sheetrock. It puts dust everywhere, and I'm really concerned about that. So that means I can't even have a ceiling fan on when I'm doing the cutouts for my outlets. But I think that's imperative that we have that, because who wants to put your tanks up here and then have cords hanging down? I mean, I've got cords over there I wish I could get rid of, but I don't have a way to get around it. I would have done electricity over there if I had thought about it, but I was a newbie and I didn't think about it. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys in a minute. Whenever, well, it's going to be a minute for you. It'll be a long day for me. Bye. Hi guys, welcome to the channel. You've landed at Aquascaping on the Fly, Living Art Creations. I'm your host and content creator, Anthony. Where on my channel, I blend my love of spirituality and Mother Nature into every one of my builds, whether it's aquascaping or terrariums. So speaking of spirit and Mother Nature, I've been obsessed with a concept of the rainbow series. So this is video build number 2 in setting up the new tank setup for that Aquascaping Art install. Now it's going to be 5 tanks, and it's going to be based on the rainbow colors, where I'm combining 2 of the colors. Now, when I first started kind of like thinking of this concept, I originally had wanted the tanks to all run across in one line, almost like a shooting star effect. And then I was like, no, I want them in a round one, and no, of course you don't know that's going to work. Where would you have the support for all that? So I debated, and finally it came to me one evening, just to go back to my original idea, which was to do 3 shelves. And using the corner here, I'm able to tap into the fact that there's a bracing system on the side and on the back. So the whole theory is that I'm going to do my tanks almost like 2 pyramids. If you could imagine, pyramids, 2 triangles. One triangle is pointing down and the other triangle is pointing up. The point where the triangles meet creates a little diamond in the middle between both of them, or inside both of them. And that's called a rhombus. So that's what I'm going for. I'm going to go for tank, 1. This is the rhombus. And then tank. So it's really going to be like this. And the rhombus tank is going to be in the middle. And that's going to be the one that's going to be 2 colors. It's going to be yellow and green. So now that that's kind of out of the way, let me get this chair out of the way and set up so I can explain what we've done so far, what we've spent so far, and what's the next step. Okay, look, see how easy that was? Now, normally I do a lot of cleaning and I get everything ready for you guys, and oh, it's going to look amazing. No, it's just, this place is a wreck. It is literally a wreck. So the one thing I want to point out, right now we're on budget at $128. That's for the lumber, the screws to adhere all the lumber, and the glue. What you see, this veneer that I have applied to the wood, I already had that. So that's something left over from my flooring project here in my studio. So this I didn't have to pay for. The original concept was to go a little bit lower, but let me get you guys a little, go down a little bit here. Not sure if you can still see it. No, I think the outlet's in the way. There you go. Okay, you see right under that bottom shelf right there, I have electricity right there. So I have an outlet. And you know, the one thing that's horrible in our hobby here is the amount of outlets you need to put anything anywhere. And so I kind of thought beforehand, and I knew I wanted to tap into the electricity there. Now, I'm not a licensed electrician, but I used to be a house flipper. So I know a fair amount of information about how to do electrical work. So a lot of times I've done my own electrical work. So all I'm going to have to do, this is going to be really straightforward. I'll just take this outlet through the wall and see, you can go right down there. It's so close. I can fish the wire here, bring it in here, here, and on the top shelf. I don't think you can see the top shelf. Splice up. So you see that? So there's an outlet on the second one. And if I tilt you up, there's an outlet on the top row. Now, because the walls and corners are not square, sometimes lumber to your best effort is not square. I really, really lucked out in using this laminate. Now, I did buy a high-grade glue, even though this is the peel and stick type. I peel it off, put the glue down. I've been clamping it, but I found the tape works just as well. Lets it stick to it. The only thing that was a little bit more challenging, and I'm using everything I can that's left over from my kitchen remodel as well. Under here, if you guys shot, you see that? I've actually clad the underside of these top two shelves. So this one also has it on it. Now, the bottom shelf, no, because you're not gonna stick your head way down there at the bottom. So this one will not be clad in the floor tile on the bottom side of that. And then here are the shelving units. Now, I made this really easy on myself. Well, first let's talk about the foundation. All right. According to ChatGPT, I was able to tap into 5 studs, and I have 2x6s in my wall. I've got 5. I've got one here, 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 plus the one in the corner. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 1 foot span right here where I don't have anything. So based on what I have available right now with the screws that I use, which are 4-inch, so they are recessed into the 2x4 framework, then they go all the way into the studs into the wall itself. They can safely hold between 200 and 300 pounds with doing nothing else. But I want to make sure that it really is solid. So what I'm going to do is on the bottom, I'm going to use my one leftover 2x4, and I'm going to put a support here and here at the front. Now, this is attached to the corner there, which is awesome. This one, because there's a foot span, I'm just a little nervous about not putting something there. And I don't want to put just one leg on one side. I want to balance it. So I'm going to put a leg on both sides, even though. And I may clad those in the flooring as well. I'm not sure yet. But then I also bought today, I just got back from Home Depot, taking some stuff I didn't need back, and then picking up something. And I picked up these hardwood dowels. Now these are 1.25 inches. These are the hardwood, so it's not softwood. I'm literally gonna put one in each corner, here, here, and on the other side as well. So I've got 2 of those. I tried to research online, and because my height is just around 17 inches, it's higher than 16. Most adjustable furniture legs go up to 16, and then they jump way up above that. So I'm just I'm between 17 by 17 and a half. So there's no adjustable legs that I can get that I would work, because I would prefer that, because then I could take them down or whatever. And I was initially going to put spotlighting, full spectrum spotlighting, in each one of these. You could put 2, or you could put, I left it where you could do 1 in each. There's like 3 quadrants here. You can see down here, so there's 3. Can you see that? Okay, so see how I left 3 spaces? And I was gonna do the tiniest one. I was gonna do a little 3-inch. And I thought, no, because if I ever, sell this, no one's gonna want that kind of high intensity lighting on their shelving. So I'm just gonna use the kind of lights that I use anyway on Blackfish. They're acrylic stands, you can't see them, excuse me, and then the light just hovers over it. So that's all I'm gonna do. I would have put, because I know that on the top shelf and the lower shelf, I am gonna have a tank and they're gonna be separated by space. I would have put 2 outlets on each one of those, but because I've got 2x6s, there's no way to go from here to over here. There's too many wall joists that are in the way that I did not want to drill through. So I'm just going to make it easy. I do have at my disposal, if I want, to put, let me show you. I never used this in my kitchen. So this is the crown molding, and I wouldn't use it up there, but I'm thinking about, I did lay it out to where the crown molding can flip flush, and the outlet will be just right above it, to where if I want to hide a cord that has to go across the span of a shelf, I can do it, and I can hide the cord under, because I'm not going to attach the crown molding. I'm just going to let it sit there. It just would naturally, angle there. And so I thought about, okay, I could definitely do that without any problem. So that is one option for me. And right now, I haven't figured out how I'm going to take care of these strips, because I don't want to put the laminate on here, because I don't think it would last, because it needs more surface room. I might just paint this, or if I'm going to leave the legs raw, I mean, just leave it raw and just say it's a design. It's a part of the design to leave it like that. Now, with doing a project like this, if you plan on using some type of a peel and stick, even though the suggestions are going to say you can put it on there and it'll be fine, don't trust them, because I did the same thing in my kitchen. In my kitchen, okay, it's kind of clean. My kitchen has this kind of tile. It's the same kind of tile as white's right here. It's been horrible because I did not put a backer on it. The wall was sealed like you're supposed to, but the tile kept coming off. So as they come off, I have to put glue on them and put them back on here. So from the beginning on this one I've been using glue from the start, and then we'll go, then we'll go from there. Other than the crown molding, I do have another molding potentially to put here. It's a light rail molding, and I thought, ooh, that's gorgeous. If I want to go that detailed, I'm not sure I want to go that detailed, but if I want to go that detailed on it, I could do it. My only alternative now, though, is to talk about what's going on up top. I don't really want to put the flooring all the way to the ceiling. The only thing about it design-wise that I'm a little concerned about is the tanks are going to have this dark background that are on the shells, and up above it's going to be the ivory walls. So I'm kind of trying to think about in my head what I want to do with that. But so far, the budget is $128. The electrical is next. And the electrical is going to shoot it up a little bit. But so far it's turned out better than I thought. It is super easy. Let me show you what the planks look like so you'll get an idea. Now this stuff I bought at Home Depot, it's $1 a square foot. Now it's not particularly that pretty, the other colors. What I got it in is this gray or gray ash. And when I laid it on my flooring, I did it in a herringbone, which is quite complicated, but it turned out beautiful. So you can see it's got the pillow stick. It shows you exactly which way to go. And putting the glue down and just put these down, they're super easy to cut. It just takes a little sharp blade knife to cut it, and that's all you really have to worry about. So other than getting the electrical done, which that'll be pretty easy. The holes are already drilled, the outlets there, just got to tie into it. The next thing I'll have to do is to secure the shelves. So I have more glue, and I'm probably going to have to, I can clamp these and glue it and see if that holds. And if it doesn't hold, I bought some finish nails that I can put into this that will hold it down, and you really won't see them. But I love the fact that now it's going to be nice and smooth. This is all waterproof. This is waterproof. I will have to seal it along the seams just in case, because the hobby is messy. That way it won't leak down or affect the wall or anything like that. And I'm going to leave the bottom of it down here open. I'm going to use that maybe for some storage. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. I'm not going to let that room go to waste. It's too valuable in a small space like mine. So I will put something down there. I had thought about doing lighting down there and maybe put some of my terrariums down there just to give it a little more oomph. And then I'm still debating about what to do with the bottom section, what to do at the very top. But we have now the legs. The electrical's kind of straightforward. This has to sit for like a day minimum to make sure everything is on there and it's doing its thing. The only thing is when you're putting this flooring down, if you're doing it on shelving, follow the arrows. The arrows mean that the pieces are supposed to line up texturally so that you don't have something that, okay, I'll show you one where I messed up. You see that one on the bottom shelf? Look at this bluntness right here. You can tell where this one ends and this one begins. That's because I cut one in reverse. And I wasn't going to throw it away. So I was like, okay, yeah, that happened. But that gets me up to speed. I'll do a breakdown because I'll do the electrical. So I'll do the breakdown in this video about the electrical. The tanks that we're going to use are going to be 5.5 gallon tanks, and I'm going to get those from PetSmart when they have their 20% off coupon. And like I said, it's going to be, I'll give you a visual again. Make sure you can see me. Yeah. Okay, so tank, space, tank. One tank in the middle, and the same thing as the top row, tank and tank. So it's going to go like this. So it's going to be red, yellow, green, orange. I'm not following the color family. I'm changing it up. Violet, yellow, green, blue. And basically what I've chosen is where I can get shrimp in each one of those colors. And especially like in the red one, we can get red plants. I could probably get some boosts to do violet or bluish because sometimes a boost will have that color in it. And so I'm looking forward to being able to find and get as much of the color as possible because this has been on my mind since when I first started with it. Now, I will show you, this is the first thing I did. Look at this gap. The nice thing about this is you can take a pencil that's been sharpened and you can just put it in there and you won't notice it after that. But instead of doing the electrical first, I decided to go ahead and put the skin on and then countersink the boxes in. That way I wasn't having to cut around for the skin on here to put this on. And then once I did that, and I realized that I could do it up here as well. The only thing different up here is I used, show you guys. It pays to never throw anything away. So I have these panels left over from my kitchen, and I just put the panels up here, and then I was able to put the flooring on the panel itself because I didn't want to go out and buy something that was just going to get covered up, and I already had this. So I'm trying to use as much of this as possible to keep the cohesive look in here, because the studio display on the other wall, that can easily come down. This, not so. This one I'm building permanent. And I think anyone that would come in here, once the sofa's moved back over again, it doesn't push it too far over. I've already done all the measurements for that. I may have to get like some type of like a black industrial floor lamp that like on a skinny pole that I could put right here by the sofa whenever these lights aren't on. That's the only thing I'm really gonna have to deal with. But other than that, I'm super pleased with how it looks. I hope you guys like it. I hope this inspires you, because right now, I believe we're just gonna be a little bit over 200, but I'll put it in the video what the end budget's gonna be, because I've already bought all the supplies for the electrical part. And I just bought the dowel rods for the legs. So I'm hoping it's no more than 250, because what I had budgeted, if I had bought this, something like this, like at Amazon, the cheapest thing I found that could hold this many tanks was like $270. So I want to be under that, and that's why I was so glad I was able to customize it, because I really, really love it. So let me get back in the shot. I hope you guys love it too. Let me know in your comments. Okay, I can't remember his name, but there's one of my commenters that always talks about, very frequently, comments all the time. So you guys always leave comments, because I read all the comments. I answer all my comments. I love it. Said something about he stands on his, and he'll know who I'm talking about. He stands on his builds to make sure it'll hold the weight. Okay, I was not even going to attempt. I would probably hurt myself. I thought about laying down on one of them because I thought they kind of looked like bunk beds, like in a tiny house. But there's no way. It needs legs on it first before I do something dangerous like that. But if you guys like the content, I think we are now up to 218 subscribers, so we're getting close to 250. And that's exciting because my channel is only 6 months old. So if you want to, subscribe, like, comment. I love the comments because I love the interaction. I love the positivity that this hobby offers us. So hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you on the next build. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Let's get this video going. Hi, you've landed at Aquascaping on the Fly Living Art Creations. I'm Anthony, your host and your content creator. On my channel here, I like to infuse my love of spirituality and Mother Nature into every one of my builds. And normally I get inspiration first and foremost with a nature walk. And that is exactly what we're going to be dealing with today, is a new theme called the Rainbow Series. Now, I'm probably going to have to do a whole video on just how I came up with this, because it was truly miraculous how I came up with the entire series. Basically, it's going to be 5 tanks. Even though there's 6 colors in the rainbow, I'm going to do 5. I'm going to do them in a giant X, with the middle one resembling a rhombus. So I kind of explained that in the last video. And I think in the first one too. This is the 3rd video, because we're almost now done with the display for the Rainbow Series. And I'm about to show you what I've got done. And so the word of the day, for those of you who used to love to watch Pee Wee Herman, the word of the day today is don't throw anything away. Oh my gosh. Sometimes being a pack rat, I'm just going to say it, sometimes being a pack rat really, really pays off. Now, I've said this on many, many of my videos. I come from a family where we didn't throw anything away. It was so bad that I would have to, when I would visit my parents, after I had moved away from home, I would come in and I would literally have to clean out closets because my mother especially was a pack rat and she loved clothing and shoes and everything else. And I was that child between 5 and 7 years old that my mother used to put in a Goodwill box. The actual box, when they would just leave a Goodwill box out on a corner. She would throw her child in there and have to pick up and let her look at everything that was in the box. Highly illegal. I mean, we were living in Texas at the time. You guys know that we're kind of like sometimes a desert condition in the summer. Can you imagine throwing your child in a box like that? It's enclosed and it's hot like crazy. Anyway, so I try to be just the opposite, but there's things that I just don't throw away. And usually I can use them later on. It's for a reason. But I've made like 5 trips to the dumpster here in my complex. You would think I'm nesting, except I'm not dating anyone. So it's not like I'm nesting for someone. I guess I'm just nesting for myself. You could nest for yourself, I guess. Anyway, that kind of gets us off topic, but who cares? I like the freedom of saying whatever I want to say. It hopefully will at least amuse you guys, because I'm not one of those videos that tries to tell you the world is all, this is going to be perfect, we're going to have a flawless tank. Oh, far from it. Oh my God. I'm about ready to do an update series, a retrospective on all the tanks. So right now I've got 5 tanks, and they're at all different ages. The water parameters are the same in all of them, though, all of them. But there are different criteria that we can talk about on a separate video. So one of the things that's kind of cool is that this is the first time that I'm going to be able to turn the camera around and I don't have to stop the camera and move stuff out of the way. So you guys will think that, oh my God, he always lives and it's always perfectly clean. No, it's that I got rid of a lot of stuff. And I had this roll around clothing rack. So like before I relocated into this place, I was staying with my sister. And her closets were already full where she was living. So I bought one of those roll around racks to put my clothes on, especially my uniform pieces for work. And so I've had it and I just love it because I put stuff on it when I don't want to use the dryer. And then I've kept stuff from the hobby in it as well. And so I actually literally last night, we have a thing here in my complex. Everyone does it. I do it. You take something out and you put it in front of the dumpster area behind the fence where the fence is that you can't see everything, but you put it out at the dumpster, but not in the dumpster because it's usually good quality and someone's going to want it. And I have found lots of cool stuff, like the 2 tables, like the table right now that you can barely see that Blackfish is on. I found that in the dumpster. There's a table that I'm using for my coffee table. I found that in the dumpster. I found so much stuff that I use. It's amazing. Like my water hose, dumpster. My watering can, dumpster. My 5-gallon bucket that I keep my water in that's treated, dumpster. There's a lot of things I'm really lucky on. I can just find it. So, that part's kind of amazing. But I know you guys aren't really interested in that. You want to see how the build is going. So we're going to turn the camera around. But first, let me get some lighting over there so you can see it and get it off of me because you've seen me long enough. I'm going to say I'm actually pretty proud of how, and I'm going to turn the lighting up really bright so you guys can really get a good look at it. Now, I am 99% done. And that means that, no, it's not completely done. But I'm 99% done. Okay. And I'm going to be lazy. I still want a place to sit, so hang on. And I might need my tea. So here we go. Look at that. Look, I could span around the room. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. Okay, so those of you who haven't checked out the build on Desert Oasis in the Firebox, oh my God, that thing is like watching a live nature program. How those plants are, let me zoom in. Okay, there's a Rex begonia in there that is legit in the middle and keeps moving their leaves. They're trying to take over. I had to cut 3 out already because I don't want them to kill the plants that are under them. But that plant is like the dominant species. And now at the same time, the rattlesnake behind it started growing its leaves tall. Now it's laying its leaves flat. And then the prayer plant up at the very, very top, just above them, is starting to like lay all their leaves out. They're getting like one of the most high-powered grow lights out there. And they're still sucking that, energy up. So that is pretty cool. And then you guys get to see how I display my terrariums. There's a bug zapper because, we got gnats. Can't get rid of gnats always. But I've got stuff there. And then here is where I moved blackfish. And now blackfish, I took the backing off of it, and I really like the fact that I can see both sides of the build now. Blackfish was in the spot where the shelving unit is now. So it's kind of like it needed to be moved. And this, I'm loving the rock that's in there because that was from Burleson. That's in Texas here, south of Fort Worth. And I found it with my family. My family, we all did that together as an outing. Well, I made them do it. But they had fun. They said they did. They wouldn't lie to me either. If they hated it, they would have told me. Okay, so I'm going to back up more so you can get the full view of what's going on. Okay, so you can see the tub that's on my bar. Those are plants like Java fern and some booze that I've already attached to driftwood that I want to use in some builds. And I was testing out how well I can do. I'm going to say that right now, one of my favorite plants that I love, of course, I am a booze all day long. I love booze. I think it's amazing. But I'm horrible at gluing. I really am bad at gluing. But I love bobitis now because it looks just like a fern. And I've got a bobitis on some driftwood. I've got booze in there. But in blackfish, I did a supernova Anubias and I think it's called gigantic or giganti or something like that. Anyway, it's huge and I'm loving it now because when I don't have to glue something in there, I'm like all in heaven. Okay, so let's start at the bottom. Now, the shelving, the way it is, I forgot to turn my phone off, sorry about that. The way the shelving is now, okay, so in the last video, I had just started the skin. Okay, somebody really wants to talk to me. Just put the skin on because this is all a 2x4 framework for the shelf, and then it's a piece of, I think it's 1 inch by 15 inch wide by 4 feet long hardwood shelf. And I went with that. And this is something I forgot to talk about in the second video. I did the intro to it. I said, hey, I made it easy on myself. And then I completely forgot what I was talking about. That happens all the time because I don't use a script. What I'm talking about is that, okay, I am here by myself. I have a circular saw and I have a 5-gallon bucket. So anytime I want to cut something, it's me putting something on top of the 5-gallon bucket, holding it with my foot. Sometimes I have flip-flops on, which is really dangerous and I should not be doing that, but I did it. And then I cut it, and it's always, it's not level. That's just notorious because, you can't put your foot on something like a bucket and expect to hold it while you're cutting it. So the 2x4 frames, the lengthwise that you're looking at on each shelf, so that meant the back side of the shelf and the front forward side of the shelf, those were pre-cut. And all I had to cut were the ends and the middle braces. So that was a lot easier on myself. Now, so the board itself, the top piece of board, which is where you see all that blue tape, that was already pre-cut. I didn't have them cut it. It came that size, which is why I used the 2x4 to use. So it's 2x4x4, and then the shelf is 4. So the shelf and the frame fit together perfectly. There was no cutting there. It just had to be the braces in the middle is what I'm trying to say. And the last time I showed it on the video, I just had the shelves themselves clad, and I had the backdrop done on the bottom one and the middle shelf, and the top one was vacant. The top one was vacant for a reason, because I was really nervous going higher than that. Now, I remodeled this room. This outlet that you see at the bottom under that shelf, see that one right there at the very bottom with the shadow on it? That was a dead outlet because this room had no ceiling fan, it had no ceiling lights, there was no way for a television to go over the fireplace because there was no electricity on the fireplace. I don't know how they got away with this. This place was built in the 80s and it didn't have a ceiling fan and it didn't have an outlet by the television. It's just ridiculous. So this one outlet had a switch when you entered into the living room. So I rerouted that line to go to a ceiling fan, a television, and my spotlighting. So I had to run, and this is where I'm going to show you guys, this is how you get creative. You see I used plastic or the vinyl baseboards. Okay, what you can't see, I'm just loving this, that I can just span around and you guys don't get to see anything untowards. Okay, at the end of the sofa, there's an outlet behind like where that corner cushion is, one outlet. What I did is I fished a new electrical line down from there. It had to come back out again on the outside of the sheetrock because of all the, I have 2x6s in the wall, and then the foundation board was even bigger, so I couldn't cut through it. And then it was concrete after that, so I couldn't get it out. I had to have a choice. I had to make a hole. I made a hole as close to the bottom of the floor as I could. And then guess what? In here, my sheetrock does not go all the way to the concrete. It leaves a half an inch. I ran that electrical line underneath the sheetrock wall in that half an inch gap, brought it all the way over here, cut a hole where you can't see it, where the vinyl baseboard, they still call it baseboard, and it goes up, and that's where that outlet is. Now, that vinyl I chose for a specific reason, because by the time I started getting into the kitchen remodel, I had just discovered my first aquascaping video. And I don't believe in chance. I know everything happens for a reason. And I became obsessed immediately. And I started my channel within 30 days. And I just went crazy insane with doing videos that I had probably no business doing. So I'm kind of embarrassed about all my early videos, just because I'm like, oh my God, the production was horrible. But you got to learn, okay? You got to learn. So anyway, now my videos are, oh my God, I think my videos are amazing now. I'm just like, oh my God, Cecil D. DeMille Anthony here. So that outlet is being hidden. I went with a thicker cove base that went up higher. So because of the water, we know we might have spill. So the flooring is vinyl, which you can see here. I did it in the herringbone. This is 99 cents a foot at Home Depot. It's the only place that carries it. And it's the only color I like. This is like gray ash. I thought it was a beautiful color. So now when we pop up, it now becomes, the leftovers is the skin basically covering our bespoke display here for the 5 tanks. So what I love about this is we're upcycling everything that we can to save money. So while we're still down here, the ChatGPT said, because I was able to put, I have 5 2x6 studs on the back wall where the shelving unit is. So I've got 4-inch screws that connect it directly into the studs. There is a 1-foot gap. And if you can see where that outlet is, between the outlet and the right corner, that's 1 foot, exactly 12 inches. Now, I didn't trust that 12 inches, so I knew I was going to put a 2x4 down there. Now, I'm going to clad the 2x4 in the vinyl, so it will look like furniture. I use these hardwood dowel rods, and I'm leaving them nude. I'm not going to do anything to them. I'm not painting them. I'm not doing anything with it. So I had to cut those, and that was so I made them the cuts a little bit longer, and then they're basically held in by tension. So now the shelves are really indestructible. I debated about putting the backsplash on the side, and then I decided not to, because I wanted it to look like it was one piece just coming down. Now, this wall you're looking at where the shelving is on it, this whole wall right here, let's back up. So the only way I could get my television to have electricity was I needed to put holes in the ceiling to take the wires through. That's why those holes are there. I put lighting up anyway, but I made the holes there so I could fish the wiring through. Now, this was solid mirrors. And if you don't think that was a nightmare for a single person to take down, they were floor to ceiling. And I only broke one. And when I broke it and I felt it breaking, I just ran out. I closed my eyes and ran. I was scared I was going to hurt myself. So I just had a lot of broken glass to pick up. But now you can see, okay, so the dowel rods are in. The electricity is on each shelf. Now I'm going to tell you about the electricity. I know how to do electricity. What I did wrong, though, sometimes when you strip a wire and you push it in the plug-in in the back instead of using the screws on the sides, it messes it up for some reason. I don't know why. I did the easy way. I pushed them all in. They all just connect together. Well, none of them are working, tripping the breaker. I had to take them all back out and then thread them around the screws, and then it was fine. I don't know what's wrong with that. And then I debated for a day to go to the ceiling or not go to the ceiling. And I finally decided to go to the ceiling because if I don't want to put a backdrop on these tanks, I want them all to have the same background. And the hard part is now I have glued down, these are peel and sticks, but you've got to add another adhesive to it or they won't stay. And I explained that thoroughly in the last video. So if you're trying to do something like this and you're trying to get by inexpensively, don't skimp on your glue because it will save you headache. Now, what I want to point out is I just taped the corners where I put the skin around the 2x4. So see right there, the tape you're seeing now, that is a product of me not throwing something else away. Now, my countertops came from IKEA, and they're the fake slate looking. They sent extra trim. So you can see here, see that trim right there? That is this. That is what's on the flat boards. And what I love about it is, maybe not that one so much, but look at this one. It gives the aura of that board is twice as big because I didn't cut this down. I just cut it to size and then taped it up because I was really impressed with especially the corners because you can tell on that first shelf, that top shelf, come on, quit moving. That 2x4 brace on the right got wonky. And that happened on every single one of them in a different location just because I didn't have clamps to clamp this down to like a sawhorse or something, and I was just holding it. So it's not the best way to do it. If you've got better tools, yours is going to turn out looking a lot better than what mine does. I'm happy with it, and I'm happy that we're on budget. Right now, we've only spent $205, and it looks amazing for $205. I mean, if you had to pay someone to build this, you would think, oh my gosh, it's way more expensive. The hard part about the ceiling was that the ceiling's not flat. It was popcorn, and I scraped it when I started doing the remodel. And the corners aren't corners, and you're dealing with a product like the vinyl that likes to be, cut straight and not have to maneuver around bumps. That's one thing you need to pay attention to if you're going to design something like this. Okay, what are the problems I could have? How flat are your walls if you're going to want to cover them up with something? And now I want to cover them up with something because I constantly am spraying down the sphagnum moss that's on the wall where the studio originally started. Now, I want the ability to be able to spray water around this here because I'll have plants growing out of these as well. And I want to be able to, if it gets on it, no big deal. It's vinyl. It's not going to hurt anything. Mine on the other side, where it's just the wall, it leaves watermarks. Even though I sealed that wall. I mean, physically, after it was painted, I sealed it. It doesn't work. It's work. It's just a pain in the butt. So you can tell I clad the underside, and you have to put a veneer of something around the 2x4s. You just cannot glue this to the 2x4s. It won't work. It needs to have the stability of the panels next to it all in contact with something. That was one of the hardest things. So I reused panels from the kitchen that don't match what I'm doing here, but since I'm covering up with the vinyl anyway, it didn't matter. Now, the dowel rods, I really and truly wanted them to be black metal legs, but because my shelves are like 17 inches and not 16, I'm in that in-between size. All metal legs go up to 16 inches, and then they start back up again at like 20-something inches. I'm in this gap, this weird gap. So I went with the hardwood round because I thought it looked kind of aesthetically cool, and I thought, okay, I'm just gonna, leave it with that. But the nice thing about it is when you're dealing with the skin vinyl, as long as you keep the arrows that they put on the packaging as far as the direction that you need to lay out your tile, when you have to cut pieces like this, you can still keep the continuity of your pattern. One thing I do want to point out, okay, so there's only 3 pieces between each one of the shelving units, and then there's like a little thin version one because the way the spacing turned out. So I didn't have to worry about, hey, I still altered the way the cut was. So to give you an example, on this shelf that you're looking at, the backdrop, because that's what you're going to see, you have one full piece from left to right, and you can see where we change around the outlet. And then you have a small piece. Now, I took what was left over of that cut from that small piece, and it became the second row, the middle row. So they're stair step. They're all stair step, so they look normal. They're not just lined up looking ridiculous like some people do them on their floor. That just bugs the crap out of me. Up here, though, I had to be really more diligent because I had to make it still appear like there was randomness, so you weren't seeing the same pattern. So what I loved about this is I laid my pattern out to make sure there was no repeat. And I really played around with making sure it blended exactly the way I wanted it to blend. Now, the lighting I'm going to use here, okay, you can kind of, it may be too bright for you, but I'm going to do it anyway. You see that one right there on that tub? I have those in black, and I have them where they are on acrylic stands. So I'm only going with 5.5 gallon tanks. So on the top row, it's going to be 2 tanks, and they're going to be separated. They're going to be more to the ends, and the middle's going to be empty. Okay, so think of that. What I'm building is an X. So that's your top row. You're going to have a 5.5 gallon and a 5.5 gallon, but you're probably going to have about at least a good 6 inches or more in the middle empty. I may put something else there, but there won't be a tank there. This shelf is going to have just 1 tank. It's going to be in the middle. Then the bottom shelf will be a repeat of the top shelf. So basically what you're going to envision is if you took 2 triangles and one that had the point going down and one had the point going up, and those points meet and they overlap just a little bit, just like by a few inches, it creates a diamond pattern in the middle of where the 2 triangles are. So you got 2 triangles coming together, but in the super middle of it, the center where they're joining, it turns into a diamond. And that diamond's called a rhombus. So in my design, my rhombus is my 1 tank in the middle, and that tank is going to be 2 colors. It's going to be yellow and green. So So we're talking about probably yellow shrimp, and then do a really, you know, like vibrant green color with it. And from here, this is how it's going to go. It's going to be this row. Red. The middle is going to be yellow-green. The right bottom is going to be orange. I'm changing up the colors. We're artists. We can do that. And then over here, this one's going to be blue. Crosses over to yellow and green again, crosses over again at the very top, and on the right, that one's going to be violet. Now, the reason why, the reason why I chose to do this is because I think the red and the violet will be beautiful together, just like the blue and the orange, I think will be beautiful together. So basically, you're going to be looking at 2 colors per shelf, but you're only going to have 1 tank in the middle. Now, am I going to put more stuff on there? Yes, that is way too much space for me not to have other stuff up there. Most likely, maybe some of my terrariums will go up with it, but that's the plan right now. And I don't think I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. So the legs will be done. The dowel rods are going to remain the same. Budget is $205. Now, remember, I had originally, the only thing I could come close to finding on Amazon was a $270 stand that was wider than this, because this, of course, if you've been paying attention, is 4 feet. 4 feet is very important because it almost still keeps the sofa centered on the room under the lighting. Yes. I planned all that out, but I didn't know about the rainbow tanks then. But I still want the room to look symmetrical because it just fits my OCD that way. But I think I had wanted also to really utilize the space underneath, and I think that tub that's up here that's got the plants in it, I think I could put that at least maybe on something decorative, and that way keep it under there to where the plants are under there and I get it off of my bar because I use the bar constantly. But for me, I think that really takes care of. If you guys have any questions about this, all the building materials came from Home Depot. I will put in the slide again that I have in there, a text box that showed exactly what everything cost. It would have been a lot cheaper if I didn't have to buy, and I only bought 25 feet of electrical wiring. I got the smallest I could, and that the wiring part is what jumped up my price, because you've got to use the remodel boxes, you've got to get new outlets, and I didn't even buy the outlets that I really wanted, the kinds that have the USB plugs in them. Oh my gosh, those are even way, way, way more expensive. And I was contemplating in the beginning to put recessed lighting in the shelves, but the problem with that is I didn't want to have to build a shelf on top of the top piece to put recessed lighting in it, and I didn't want it to compete with the lighting that's already above it, because you can see what would happen. You've got a light right there next to it. And so I really couldn't do that. So I had to switch it up to where I'm going to use lighting that, you know, you can just move away. Now, the only other thing is, should I do the bottom clad it? I'm not going to, because I'm going to use that for storage down there. I don't think you're going to see it anyway, because when I'm going to be focusing on doing any filming from here, it's going to be like that right there. That way you can see all tanks at the same time. And I hope this answers any kind of questions you have. As soon as that, the tape is up there now, because I just glued that trim piece on. And what I want to be able to do then, after this is all dried and set up, is start to work on the dojo. And I'll start laying out rocks and potential driftwood for each one of the tanks. And what's cool is I can set them on their shelf where they're going to go, and that way I can kind of stand back and look at it. That's why you already see up here some driftwood up there, because it's taller, because I can go really tall in that one if I want to. So I'm kind of excited about that. Anyway, I hope this helps. Thanks for hanging out. Let's give a shout out to today officially. We hit 220 subscribers. So that I'm applauding everyone. I mean, my videos are getting hardly any attention, but I am growing in subscribers. So I really don't get it. But I am on TikTok, Facebook, BLUESKY, and of course the channel on YouTube. And I do a lot of shorts. And I did just go into the channel and put the shorts into different categories that they fit, because I do like to focus a lot on the shrimp that I have. I'm not comfortable with livestock yet, like fish, because I'm not home every day. And I really didn't want to have to get an automatic feeder. I mean, if I have to, I will. But really, I want these tanks to be working well and me not have to worry about it so much. And the shrimp are in there, and they're seem to be okay, except for a couple exceptions. And that's why I'm going to do a retrospective to kind of cover something that has just happened that was kind of like sad news for the channel. Anyway, so thank you for your likes. Thank you for your comments. I read all of your comments. I love the comments. I love the excitement that the channel is gathering and garnering online. And if you feel complied, subscribe, because I really want to be a grown-up channel one day. I want to be one of those powerhouse channels where we talk about DIY and we talk about in this hobby where you can, because if you're not familiar, all my rocks, all my hardscape, sometimes my sand comes from Mother Nature. I don't like to buy anything that I don't have to buy, and I get my tanks on clearance. So I can do a build for a fraction of what some other channels will do, and that's why mine are low tech, because I really want to master the area of just having your tanks with planted plants and then having that balance. And so that's my whole goal. My goal is to make this channel for those people out there that love to do their own DIY, like to go out into nature, feel the spiritual connection between Mother Earth and what they're getting. That's kind of how I do it when I'm outside. I get inspiration, and as soon as I see something, I know what I should do with it. I get inspiration immediately. And I love that flows through me. Spirit flows through me like that, through my light. And every one of my tanks has a name for a reason. It just comes to me. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with me today. I've got a little more cleaning up to do, and then I'm going to relax and have a great day. I hope you guys are having an awesome, awesome day, and I'll see you on the next build. Bye-bye. Hi, everyone. Welcome to... I can't get my words out. Hi, everyone. You've landed on Aquascaping on the Fly, Living Art Creations. I'm Anthony, your host and your content creator, and welcome to the channel where I blend my love of spirituality and Mother Nature into every build I put out there. Now, today, I have something really exciting. For the last 5 days, if you guys have watched any of the videos on my channel, I've been promoting a series on how to build your own custom fish tank aquarium display. I needed to do, or needed to purchase, I started out wanting to purchase, like on Amazon, a 5-tank display for what I'm going to be calling the Rainbow Series. Now, Rainbow Series normally should have 6 because we're referencing the colors of the rainbow, the prism of the rainbow. But I am doing something a little bit different. We are artists. We can make that change if we want. So I'm choosing 1 tank to represent 2 tanks. And it comes at the crossroads of all 5 tanks. And at that crossroads of all 5 tanks, there's 1 tank called the rhombus. Now, if you're totally confused, I love it. Because when I got this idea, I was confused too. And why I say I got this idea, this just doesn't pop into my head because, all of a sudden I knew what a rhombus was. No, I had to look it up. So yeah, this is definitely a spirit-led design tank display that has been on my mind for months. And when I get an idea or a download from spirit, it stays on my mind until it gets built. I mean, and That's it. All my other tanks behind me, they're all the same. It's no secret that this setup here is called the Trinity series. Yeah, come on, think about it. The Holy Trinity, 3 tanks, 1 theme. I just shortened it to the Trinity series. The first tank on the left is Garden of Eden. I mean, now, come on. It does not get more historically biblical than that. And then this is the Tree of Life. Goodness gracious. Yeah, so Spirit runs kind of heavy into my realm here, and I appreciate that, and I love that. And I love it that I can bring videos out like this to you. So the Rainbow series, I had originally the super creative artist in my brain. I wanted to do this display of these big, massive bowl tanks, and I wanted to do in a circular, like their Mother Earth, but each one had their color. And, and I was like, oh, that would look so amazing on the wall. Oh my gosh, no. Okay, that's pie in the sky. The structure you would need to hold all that stuff up and hide all your electrical would just been a nightmare. You might as well tear down a wall and build it up, because that's how it would have to come down to. And the bowl tanks are outrageously expensive. So I was going to go with Walmart's 2.5 gallon bowl. I was going to do it because it's a $13 bowl. Now, the downside is Walmart doesn't always carry them. So sometimes you got to go to maybe 4 or 5 Walmarts just to get a bowl at each store, which I was not looking forward to. Now, Hobby Lobby does carry the exact same bowl at around the same price. Walmart's a little bit cheaper, but Hobby Lobby never puts it on sale. So if you're going to do it at Hobby Lobby, you can get all the bowls you want there. No problem, because they have them in stock. Another place that carries them locally, and I'm talking, when I search on something online, I'm doing worldwide searching. I'm looking at everything. And the next place is Michael's in the North America. Now, Michael's has bowls, and I like their bowls because their quality is higher than what you get at Walmart or Hobby Lobby. But oh my God, they're so much more expensive. And I've gone in several times. Those bowls that they keep, that's a standard item for them. It's always excluded from every sale. That item never goes on sale because they have like 3 different versions of the size of bowls. And I was actually going to go down a size and put it on a smaller display. Then I started researching, because you guys know that I've added shrimp to all the tanks recently. And so I started researching what the shrimp need. And honestly, with putting livestock and shrimp together in a tank, excuse me, you don't really want to go lower than 5 gallons. Now, I'm going to get a lot of pushback maybe on this, but you'll see builds out there that will literally have a tiny, tiny little vase. They'll throw a bunch of plants, fish, shrimp, and photograph it. Now, whether that build stays up like that on some channels, I don't know. It's just, I know by looking at it, alarms are going off because there's way too much livestock in that tiny, tiny little spot. And when you start doing the research on how much space that your aquatic life needs inside there, then you really have to start paying attention to, okay, how much volume of water do you need for the species that you want to put in there, and who is more congenial with one species versus another one that can coexist without messing each other. And especially if you're talking about like the tanks I have, where like my 20 gallon here is a long, you start looking at the species of fish that swim in the levels. So there's 3 levels. There's the top, middle, and then the bottom. So some fish swim at the top, some at the middle, some at the bottom. So when you're doing your research, and if you want a tank that has that full balance of look, you would want to have it balanced out into like 3 groupings of your fish. I think I said grouping. It's groupings. Sometimes I just can't speak. You want those groupings done to where you just won't have everybody, oh my God, I cannot speak today, shoved into one section. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's where I came up with, okay, I can't do the bowl. So aesthetically, I was like bummed out. And then I decided, I had a brain fart during the night. And when I call it a brain fart, I usually got a message or something. So anyway, you guys just live with it. I live with it, so you're going to have to live with it. It was to go back to my original idea, and which was the 5.5 gallon bowl, not bowls, but tanks. And put them up on 3 shelves, because the closest thing I had found at Amazon to put 5 tanks on. Now, yes, you could do concrete block and 2x4s, and not in my studio. Do you see my studio? Does it look like I got concrete blocks sitting around somewhere? No, this has to look nice for you guys. I do this for you, and because I have OCD. So if I'm going to build something, it's going to look nice. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. But it's going to be on a budget, and it's going to be DIY. That's our catchphrase. But the stands, the closest one I got that could take 5 tanks. And I really wanted to do my rhombus series, and you'll understand it more when I turn the camera around and I get it off of me and I put it onto the shelf, which is why you're here. It was going to be $270 for the weight that it needed. And so I, of course, ask all my questions on ChatGPT. I know how much weight a 5.5 gallon is. If I put 2 on a shelf, I was contemplating building a shelving unit in my own studio here, and I knew where my 2x4s or my 2x6s in my wall were. So I had a capacity of about 300 pounds if I made them floating shelves. So I was a little nervous. Yes, I wanted floating shelves in the beginning, but I was kind of nervous because that doesn't count my rock that I'm going to have in there and my hardscape and whatever else I may put on that shelf as well. It's probably going to have a terrarium on it because the shelving that I went with is a little bit wider than what I needed. Also, the one that I was going to get from Amazon, it could only go in this corner where there's a window over here. So the width could only be 42 inches wide. And the only thing I could find online that was under $300 was this one from Amazon at $270, and it came out to 60 something inches wide, which was way, way, way too big. I even considered putting something in front of half of my French doors here. Like this side here, I don't open unless the weather's really nice. Then I open up both French doors. I thought about putting something here when I was doing the bowls. Well, that didn't work out. And then I thought about putting something here in front of the window. That didn't go out. So this several months of obsessing over how I was going to work this out, it's evolved from the full span of the entire studio. At one point, I was even thinking about doing one straight line across the wall that you're about to look at and have all the tanks just kind of lined up and spaced out on it, which would have looked gorgeous. But that's the wall with my sofa, and I don't want to be laying on the sofa and my shelf break all of a sudden, and I got 5 tanks and plants and fish and rocks and everything falling on me, like if I'm, listening to one of my movies or something really, really loud and the walls start vibrating. Anyway, that's in my head because I watched the movie Towering Inferno way too much. I love disaster films for some reason. And of course, that's a vintage one because it's back in the 70s, I think. But yeah, I love those kind of things. I'm a movie buff as well. So back to the original story. The reason why we're here on this video is to show you the display I did build. So 5 days in the build, I used 2x4s. Okay, so specifically 2x4x4. Okay, so I did not get an 8-foot board and cut it in half. No, I made it easy on myself because I have one chainsaw. Not chainsaw. Oh, I do have a chainsaw. I keep a chainsaw when I go out my nature walks. So be careful. I'm like Jason out there. I have a circular saw and a bucket. So I put the board on a bucket and then put my foot on. It's not the safest way to do it. I don't have any way to clamp anything. I have no storage here at all whatsoever. And this hobby takes over what storage I have left. It's in every single one of my closets that I can hide stuff in. So I thought, okay, I found a board because I needed to know how the tanks were going to be on a 2x4 frame. Got it? So I thought, okay, let's make this as easy as possible. I found one board at Home Depot as wide as I could. I did not want a 12-inch. I wanted something beefier. I wanted something wider. And when I turn the camera around, I'm going to show you why. So I found one hardwood board that's 15 inches wide. I think it was like 15 3/4 and exactly 4 feet. Clue, 4-foot board, 4-foot 2x4. Okay, there's automatically a board and a framework that I can get the 2 long boards on. The 2x4s are the same as the board itself. It's going to sit on them. That meant no cutting. So that's loving it. Anthony loves that idea. The only thing I had to cut were the interior braces between the 2x4s. So those, yes, I had to cut, and those kind of turned out to be a nightmare, but I worked through it. Then the other thing I had to worry about was, okay, now once I had the shelves in place, they were super sturdy because in this development that I'm living in, it's not built like a regular, like a condo development. It's built with beefier walls. They're 2x6s, and there's a nice separation because I've had to tear the ceiling out to put lighting in and ceiling fans and all that because it never had any. There's a nice buffer between the next floor and my floor and between the walls, a nice deep buffer. I think it's a firewall buffer. So my shelves are locked into 5 2x6s in the wall. So it starts at the left and comes all the way over, and the last foot had no 2x4 structure in it. So the inside, the end cap, the right-hand side had nothing to give it any structure. That's what worried me. Because yes, I could put my tanks on there, but I want to display 2 tanks on one shelf, and they're going to be separated, meaning they're going to be at the ends. And I was afraid to put weight on that right side without having to do something beefier. So I went to search. Then, of course, my favorite thing to do is let's go shopping, search online. And the space between my shelves, because I used 2x4s, and then I put another solid wood board on top of that, which was just under I think it's an inch. It ate up my space. I started with 18 inches. Now it went down to 17 and sometimes 16 3/4. All adjustable feet for furniture go up to 16 and then they stop. And then it starts up like at 22 or 23 inches. There's nothing between a 16 and an 18 that's adjustable. I even checked IKEA, which is where I got the legs for the studio wall. So I knew I was going to have to make my own legs. And I was really fretting that because I knew it meant on the bottom shelf, I was going to have to use 2x4s. And I knew it was going to look hideous. And I was really like, ugh, I don't want that. I wanted black metal legs on my shelves because I thought that's the aesthetic I'm going for. And I wanted to reuse the flooring that's here in the studio as a decorative element for the shelving unit. So we're going to turn the camera around, but I want to state very clearly, this cost me $205. That included all my lumber, all the screws, the glue I used, the electrical, the outlets, everything. My total cost was $205. I reuse, the word of the day. I forgot about this. The word of the day is don't throw anything away that you might ever need again. I reuse materials that I've had more than a year. It all came together in this build. I just had an instinct, don't throw this away, blah, 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 blah. So I would hide it in the closet somewhere, used it all. So let's spin it around. Let me reorient my lighting so it'll be on the shelf and not me. Although I am the star of the show. Come on now. Let's get it around so you guys can see. And you'll also notice I have moved Blackfish. Blackfish has been moved twice. Just because I wasn't happy where Blackfish was. Okay. Let's get orientated now. Okay, you can gasp. Yes, gasping is allowed because I know this is freaking awesome. I'm so proud of it. All right, let's back up so you can see. But I want to sit down. I'm going to be lazy. I want to sit. How far do I have to back up? Okay, can you see Blackfish is sitting on the countertop? Okay. I swear we're getting there. We're getting there. We're closer. We're getting there closer. All right, let's start at the bottom. We'll start at the bottom and work our way up. Okay, so at the very bottom, those are my 2x4s that are the legs. And you'll say, Anthony, but this is fabulous. This is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. I agree. So the flooring on the concrete here, I put that in a year ago when I remodeled the kitchen. and this is flooring I bought at Home Depot. It's a 99 cents per square foot. You cannot get anything cheaper for flooring right now anywhere. 99 cents is the cheapest that looks like this quality. This literally has an ingrained, it's a grain that's pressed into the vinyl itself, so it's not flat. You know what I mean? It's got like a groove to it. Like Stella got a groove on. This laminate's got its groove on as well. So this is leftover from the studio build. Now, yes, I want you to marvel. This is herringbone. Don't try this unless you have some really good medication, because you will go insane. It's really, really hard to do. Even when I checked on it, I think with This Old House's website, I think it shows it is difficult. Trust me, when they say difficult, difficult is an understatement. If you can't handle computing angles, multiple angles per cut, at least 3 angles on a cut, one cut at the same place, it will drive you insane. It literally will. It is really, really tough, but it's beyond gorgeous. Excuse me, I needed some iced tea. It's beyond gorgeous, and it turns what is normally just a boring plank style into, it just really elevates your style. I mean, it just looks amazing. And I love how it goes with the cabinets that I did at the same time. That goes off into my kitchen. This is my bar area. Now, so what we're going to take a look at, let's close up. So you can see this is a 2x4, and I just put this vinyl on as a skin. It's just glued on there. It's glued on, and then I taped it off, and I let all the tape stay for 2 days to make sure it was all intact. It's solid as a rock. You can see how it looks right here. Here's the edging, and you can just see how it goes up. Now, the problem I had is, okay, if you guys look at that hurricane lantern laying on the side, on those 2 tree stumps. Oh God, it's so pretty. I found that in nature. Okay, so I took it all the way to the ceiling. I didn't want to initially, so I was scared. Okay, you can see there's a little bump on the left right there. It's because the wall is not flat. The ceiling is not flat. That's the problem you're going to have. This vinyl stuff likes for it to be nice crisp cuts. Oh, try saying that 3 times. Nice crisp cuts. It can't. It is really, really difficult. So what you're really looking at is, I first started with the skin on the 2x4 framing. That's where I started to make sure it was going to work. Then I did the what you would consider your backsplash. So between the shelves. And I had the holes cut out already for the electrical, because basically I'm tying into an electrical outlet right there that I put in myself, because this place had not enough electricity anywhere. So I put that in. So all I had to do, and then that part was easy. So if you're planning on building something like this and you're OCD like I am, and you don't want cords everywhere, you want to have electricity on your shelf where your tanks are going to be, so it looks more professional, or just, fits more your design aesthetic. If you will place the outlets above an existing one and just find out which side of the 2x4 that box in your wall is attached. It'll be on one side or the other. And you can just take a little stud finder. If you don't want to buy a stud finder, you can take like a tiny little nail and nail it on both sides of the box. And you'll know immediately when you hit wood in the wall, and you'll know which side your box is on. And then you just drill the hole on the opposite side that's in line with that box. Meaning you can take new wire, excuse me, and go straight into that existing box. And then from there, it's just moving on up like Frank and Wheezy. Up to that one. And, well, that one you can't see. Okay, so that's one thing we did. The electrical part was the expensive part, because I just bought 25 feet of wiring, which is the least amount you can buy. But buying the retrofit boxes, the outlets, and the covers, that just jumped up my price. So you can see now where the shelf, which is where the gray band is, The shelf sits on the 2x4 frame, and I wanted a tiny bit of an overhang just so that if I'm putting the skin on the 2x4 frame itself, it's got something to butt up to underneath it. So if there's a seam that goes awry or doesn't look quite right, you're going to hide it because the shelf is coming over. Now, the shelf itself I didn't do anything to it. It was bought that way. You just clean it off and you start putting your flooring pieces on it. That is way more straightforward because you just have to pay attention to where your the direction of your arrows are going for the flooring. Excuse me. And then when you're doing the backsplash and the shelf, you want to coordinate that so it looks like one continuous piece. And by that, once you start doing it and you start laying your pieces out, you'll know what I'm talking about. So like you can see where there's on the backsplash, the bottom panel, you can see where the outlet is. And just to the left of it, that's where that piece ends. Then there's another piece. You go on top of that one, and then there's a short piece in the left corner, and then one long piece. And then you go on the top of that shelf, there's even a longer piece and then a short piece. You just want to stagger your cuts so it looks normal. That's how you would normally do it for a floor install. So you don't see the same pattern over and over. And you follow the arrows, because if you follow your arrows in the direction they're supposed to be laid, when you put one piece to the next, it's supposed to be a continuous flow of the pattern. That's what you're looking for. Now, I did do on this shelf, the bottom side has been laminate put on it, and the top side has had its laminate put on it, because you can see underneath there. The very bottom shelf, I didn't put it underneath it. I didn't think it needed it. On this one here, same thing. Now you can see there where the laminate is underneath the shelf, and then it goes up on the top. Now, one thing that's kind of cool, because when I said don't throw anything away, you see that gray band? That is actually, scoot over here. You see that countertop? That's from IKEA, and they send extra of those bands when you're putting in their countertops. That's that band right there, is now on here. So it fit perfectly. I just used some really good flooring glue, the kind that you use to put down this stuff here. You see that vinyl kick plate? That is, I used a glue that's for vinyl and for carpet. And it's very important because it will glue carpet down as well. That means it'll glue fabric down as well. Because what you're going to look at here, the first floor, you see 2x4s. Floor number 2, you have these amazing black structural legs. Those are hardwood dowels that I bought at Home Depot. Covered them in black vinyl and electrical tape. That's all I did. I cut them, covered them up, which was not easy because the fabric wanted to keep stretching. But it gave me the look that just is, amazing. And then the same thing for this one. Now on here, I put on there this is the middle shelf. This is the shelf that's only going to have one tank on it. And this is going to be the rhombus tank. So I put on there one of my nightlight terrariums to show you, this is probably how I'm going to display stuff up there with it. It's not just going to be the tanks by themselves. It's going to be other terrariums up there with it as well. But you can see now where when that tank is up there, we will hide the fact that there's an outlet. I have accounted for lighting that I can either put and stand it up a lot like, if we'll span over here, see how this lighting is on Blackfish? Those are on acrylic stands on the back side of it. And so I have those in black. And I thought, okay, I can put them over here on the shelf and they'll be in black. Or I have another option. I have like the light that's inside that terrarium. It is just the little round part only, and it comes with double stick tape. And it's taped to the inside of that glass lid. Now I could tape those lights on the shelf, the bottom end of that shelf, to where they're right over each one of the tanks, wherever side to put them. The cording is black. I can use black electrical tape to tape the cording so it's not hanging down. It can come straight down and look a lot more professional. So I've got two options for the lighting, whichever one works out in the best way for the overall look of the entire thing. Now, the top shelf, I had this nude behind it. It was just the wall. And, okay, you can see on this one a lot better. You see on this right side, see how that shelf just barely comes out? That's how I wanted all of them to work out. But they didn't all do that. Like this one here, it barely doesn't. And that one does. So see, that one does, this one doesn't, this one does. This is the look I was going for because I thought that looked a lot more clean and streamlined. Now, I've got the Harry Potter up there for reference because that's one of that used to be a terrarium, but it could hold so little dirt, and it had the elder wand inside of it hovering on a rock. I thought it was glorious, but the terrarium part really didn't work because I couldn't put enough dirt in it. It was just more, sculptural. I want to put this in another 20-gallon long tank. I want that to be my hardscape with a hurricane lamp on it, and I want to put plants in it. So that's going to be an upcoming 20-gallon. Now, I already have some driftwood set up. So you know what that means for me. I'm going to get ready, and I'm going to start setting up my dojo on the shelves. I don't have the tanks yet, but I can do cutouts, or I could do a tape frame on each shelf of what tank is going to go there. And I can start with my rock placement just to see how I like it until I get to the point where, okay, this is what I like and this is what I'm going to go with. So I can start playing around with that. But this gives you really the overall look. The hard part, like I said, was up on here because your corners aren't flat. The nice thing, though, is this flooring is super easy to cut. It just takes a little straight edge blade. It is really nice because if you can try and keep the manufacturer's cut, if you're doing what I did, keep your manufacturer's cut on your right here. That way each piece lines up and nothing will get astray. I mean, you can keep it straight on the side here that's next to the wall because we don't have a piece of molding there. We didn't want to overdevelop the area. There's no crown up here, even though I have crown available. I wanted it clean. Where we have the issues is on the left where it meets the wall, and I've shoved it in there as much as I can. But we're going to have tanks on there, so that's not something you're really going to notice. And if anyone notices, they come to dish your work, do what I do, slap them and tell them to get out because you poured your heart and soul in this, and it just looks amazing. So let's give it a little backup. And so that's where it's going to be. The sofa is pushed away from it because I wanted you guys to see the corner. And I think I want to give you a close-up. I'm going to show you the places where I had the worst trouble with and how I overcame it. So on the corners, as I say this all the time, wood can warp even with your best attempts at making sure you get everything perfect. Wood can still warp. Okay, so now you can see where these pieces are coming together. Those are the actual seams. I have not doctored anything up. That is how I butted them together. I glued them. The tape just came off. I am perfectly fine with the way this looks. It is not this shelf that I'm talking about that I have the problem with. And you should be able to see it right. Aha! It's this shelf. Okay, do you see this angle right here? Okay, that's because of the 2x4. When I went to put the final screws and everything into it, that was the worst one I did because it's just me trying to do the 2x4s. I didn't have a brace or anything. So it butted out. But with using a lot of glue along here, you can tell I've got it tight against it. So it still covers it. That's my worst seam. And if we go up, see, no issues, but I love how that one overhangs. I wish they had all done that. And so now this also gives you a closer look at your leg supports. So look how that looks really cool, even up close. And then Here's your 2x4. It really elevates your 2x4. I mean, it does make this look like a piece of furniture. So when I was talking about structurally where everything goes, let's span back just a little bit because I'm going to show you. So when you're designing yours, you kind of like get a reference. So in here, I need my little pointer. Oh well, I'll use this one. So I had a 2x4 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, no, 5, and the last 12 inches here, there's no support. That's why there's a leg here, here, and here to support all this weight. So basically you start with the bottom one. You make sure that you get this leg structurally sound first because it's holding up this one. And then these build on it and you balance it. So you do one leg and then you come over here and you do that leg. And then you come back and you come up to this one and you just make sure you put these in to where there's tension, but you're not jacking it up as much as you can. You're just putting tension in so that it's holding itself at its level position because you don't want to get it off level. And you do the same thing on that one and then follow it up to the top. And that's all you have to do. That part was a little more straightforward, so I was kind of happy about that because I was nervous about it. But I hope you guys enjoy this. I'll put this video out, and then I'm also going to do one where it's got all the components listed together. So when we're talking about how the tanks are going to be, I'll get you back as far as I can. I can show you what I'm talking about. All right. So let's explain rhombus. Okay, so there's going to be a tank here and a tank here. Got me? 1, 1. Red, yellow, and green. Orange. Blue, yellow, green, violet. So I'm not sticking with the color scheme. I'm switching it up. Basically, you're going to see 2 tanks, 1 tank, 2 tanks. So you're doing like this. Think of this as a triangle coming down, and here's its point. Think of this as a triangle coming back this way, where these 2 points meet, and when they come together slightly, it creates a diamond effect. If there were lines here, and you were looking at the lines, that diamond effect is called a rhombus. This tank will be my rhombus. So this tank is going to have 2 colors. So it's going to be yellow and green. And the reason why I'm going to do red, and then the reason why I chose to put the violet here is because I think red and violet would be beautiful together, and that blue and orange would be beautiful on the same row together. And then I'll probably throw, since we're going to have a gap here and a gap here, I'll probably put one of my smaller terrariums, or maybe even one of my tall ones up here because I got so much space up here. And then, because I can't remember how tall the tanks are that I'm going with. I know they're 17 inches wide. I can't remember the height. It may be a foot. Yeah, I think it's either, no, it's 11 inches. Yeah, it's 11 inches. And I wanted a good 5 or 6 inches above it so that I could work on it and then to also put plants in. So that's why I had to end up buying one, because all the stands I looked at had like 13 inches and that was it. Well, if you put an 11-inch high tank in a 13-inch shelf, you know what that means. You can't get in there and access anything. You can't get in there to work on it. So that's the whole point about having to build something specific like this. I wanted a little more space between them, but the outlet down here determined the height of that first shelf because I had to clear that outlet. I couldn't go any lower because of the outlet. If I'd gone it a little bit lower, then I would have had, I wanted ideally 20 inches between each one of these because I love putting plants out the top of it. And I thought, okay, that'll give me a lot of space. The one thing also is I want to be able to use some of this wood that I've collected that looks shockingly just like this wood. I mean, come on. You cannot get any more identical. I mean, this is like, okay, this is spirit helping me out here. I mean, I've had this since the very beginning. And I'm thinking that I'm going to do something to where these are going to come out of, I don't have room to do it like on these, because look, but these two top tanks up here, oh yeah, I'm going to hopefully be able to go crazy with my hardscape, because I love to go crazy with my hardscape anyway. But that's how the tanks are going to go 2, 1, 2. Then if I ever found anything that was smaller, or if I built something that was smaller, like over there by the window, then I could put bigger tanks here. I could put longer tanks here, because I'm really into the long tank. I like to go longer than bigger than a 20-gallon, but they get so expensive that I'm hesitant about that. But I do like the long look of the tank. So I hope that answers any of your questions. I'm not sure. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Okay, so if you have any questions, leave me a comment. This is a shout out to our 221 subscribers. You guys know that my channel is brand new. It's just had its 6-month anniversary or birthday, and I'm really trying to get the numbers up there because I want this to be a big channel. I want it to be a big popular channel or a big helpful channel out there, because I think of this hobby, the terrarium side and the aquascaping side, is like therapy. I mean, no matter what is going on in your day, especially in today's political climate, it's nice to be able to come to your sanctuary. And when you can just sit and look at a terrarium or look at your aquarium, and you know how that puts you in your Zen moment. You know how that calms you. That's what I want to bring that to more people. But so many people are turned off of this hobby because of the extreme nature of how expensive it is. I don't have a tank yet that's even cost me $200. I think I've got one that's been $200 because I ordered more plants. It was plants that, I think it was on Blackfish. It was this one, the 20-gallon long. But most of my tanks are around $150, and that's for everything. That's everything I put into it, because I forage my own hardscape, I forage my own rock, I forage my own gravel, and I try to cut costs as much as possible. And yes, I buy the tanks at PetSmart that have the rim on them because black is my accessory color, and I use that rim. I use that rim for my plants, that are house plants, that are growing out of the top as well. And so I like the fact that it's on there because it helps me. I also have lighting that I have attached at the rim level. I keep wanting to touch an aquarium, but this light's not on. But I have lighting that I use in the rest of the display on both sides, the one at the fireplace and also the studio wall, where I have these little strips of LED plant lighting that stick straight on the tank itself and is lighting right on it. And it just was too bright and I was getting way too much algae outbreak, so I took them off, and I'm using the lighting that's around it as an ambient lighting. It's still the same lighting, it's just not as high of an intensity. But I'm trying to get my channel out there for people to see that you can do this on an extreme budget and start at whatever level you're comfortable with. You don't have to get overwhelmed by the cost and what you think you might need to put in there, and to take this one step at a time. Like, get familiar with your tank and decide how you're going to put stuff in it and maybe forage for it. And I show videos on how to do the foraging, how to prep your foraging to go into a tank, whether it's a terrarium or an aquarium. So there's a lot of information that goes on behind the scenes where I'm trying to show people how to save money and how to forage and scavenger hunt for their own items that they're going to use in the hobby. So I hope that can really get out there and well known for a population that's looking to get into this hobby, but not looking to spend $2,000 on a build. Because I'll go on other channels and I will add up everything they've put. Now, they may have sponsors, and that's amazing. If you can get a sponsor that sponsors your tank, your lighting, and all your expensive plants, oh, more power to you. But if you're like me and you're having to buy all those items, the cheapest tank I've ever seen online on any video I have ever watched was $800. $800, which is, in this economy, is just outrageous. So you guys, this is an easy way to get into it. And I hope if you enjoyed the message, Please give me a subscribe if you're new to the channel and you'd like, hey, I'd like to see more of that content, because now you're going to see the rainbow series coming to life whenever I can get the tanks on sale. And then also my likes and my comments. Those blow me away. I answer all my comments. I love the community that my channel is embracing. I hear from people all over the world that comment on things that I'm doing and how they're doing something similar where they are, because we love the hobby, we want to engage in the hobby, and we don't just want to have one fancy, super expensive tank. We want to be able to experiment, because I do a lot of experimenting with my stuff as well. So if this resonates with you guys, give me the thumbs up, chat, and give me a subscription. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys on another build. Have a great day. Bye-bye.